Hello and welcome to Coach's Decision, a weekly talk show that touches on sports from the Bay Area and beyond. My name is Thomas Todd. I am joined in studio by a man who likes hockey like your grandma likes Clark Gable. It's Chad Oklin-Jolin.
Who's Clark Gable?
Exactly. Chad is young, he's dumb, and he loves sports. No, he's not dumb. He's a very bright boy. We are going to talk a little bit about hockey, a little bit about football, and then a lot more about football. We may touch on some baseball with my pal Daniel Zarchi. Some housekeeping first for the show. Anyone listening out there via iTunes, cool. Great. Anyone listening out there live, you can find our show on iTunes, Coach's Decision. Just do a quick search there. And if you want to help the show to keep the steamboat rolling, you can go to coachesdecisionksco.com and click through to our sponsor website, FansEdge and Fanatics.com. They will both sell you great items of sports athletic gear and coffee mugs, T-shirts, jerseys, any gear you think from the team you like, they will have it. They have everything, tchotchkes for your desk, jerseys, everything. So once again, go click through our website, coachesdecisionksco.com, and go to fanatics.com and fansedge.com. Follow the links. They're in every post. Thank you very much for doing that. All right, Chad, I don't watch as much hockey as you because that's not possible.
I mean, it would be, but okay, go on.
No, it can't. I have so much. I have college basketball. I've got regular basketball. The Warriors are so good. College football, bowl season, NFL playoffs. I can't even squeeze in more than half a period of a Sharks game at this point.
But if the Sharks won the Stanley Cup, would you watch them more?
No.
Okay. See, there's where the real answer lies.
If they had a guy who made 35-foot wrist shots,
maybe.
Then yeah, maybe. So I did see the All-Star captains voting. It was fan voted, and I recognized three of the names. You know, Jaromir Jagr is a player from my youth, even when I used to play Sega Genesis NHL hockey games. So, you know, that guy was around. You know, the other guys, Patrick Kane, okay, American hockey legend, modern day. Alexei Ovechkin, you know, one of the greatest hockey players of the last 15 years. Who the heck is John Scott?
John Scott is the middle finger given to the NHL by the fans, is who John Scott is. John Scott is a journeyman, and he's a journeyman because he's an enforcer. And I don't know if you've watched any hockey, but if you have, you know that enforcers aren't really around anymore. Can't really fight like you could back in the 80s and 90s, so it's kind of a lost art. And he was on the Sharks all of last season. I think he ended up playing maybe 10, 11 games in an 82-game season. He was scratched that many times. In that he basically only played against the Kings and against the Ducks, games that the Sharks knew were going to be chippy, and they wanted his 6'7" frame that was really good at fighting out there on the ice.
So why is he on the ballot? That's what was really confusing to me.
So the fans weren't happy with the game. They said that it's not hockey, and I mean, I feel that this is the same problem that the NBA has, that the NFL has, that it's hard to make the game, it's hard to make it entertaining and intriguing with really nothing on the line, because
nobody wanted to get hurt.
Yeah, and I mean, baseball catches flack for having something on the line, so you really get it both ways there. But to get back to the point of the NHL, I really think it was the NHL fans saying that they weren't happy with how the game has been progressing and how it's changed over the years, which I think is a little bit of hogwash, because I think it has the best overall festivities of any of the sports except for maybe basketball.
Are you sure it's not just fans trying to be funny? Is it them trying to be funny and make a point? I'm confused.
Yeah, I think a little bit of the latter. They were definitely trying to be funny, and goodness, thank God that John Scott's a good sport about it, because at the beginning you could see he was a little bit offended. He's why is everybody voting for me? Come on. Me and Jaromir Jagr, you're thinking, this is John Scott. But it was, once he got around to it, and once he figured out that it really was the fans just trying to say, hey, we want this game to be different. And I think what they eventually will end up saying is, hey, you're never going to get a fan vote again in the rest of the history of the NHL, because I think this is going to about do it for the fan votes for hockey.
Probably not a lot of social media savvy goons out there.
No, probably not. Not too many tweeters out there that are taking that many penalty minutes.
I just picture Mongo from Blazing Saddles as every hockey goon. I know that's an insult to hockey goons, but at least that was probably more true in the 70s. We're going to stop talking about hockey because there's so much football going on right now. We just had Black Monday, which Lovie Smith survived, but did not survive Black Wednesday. He was fired from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A couple other teams who have vacancies at the head coaching position: the Titans, the Eagles, the Giants, the Dolphins, and of course, because it's an even year, the Cleveland Browns. Now, you were saying to me before this show that you like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers job. You get Jameis Winston. They went 6-10. They underachieved a little bit towards the end of the season, but they had kind of almost a playoff run in them middle of the late middle season. So why is that job so appealing to you? Just Jameis?
Yes, but it's more than that, because it is just Jameis and that you had the number 1 overall pick, but you look at how many teams have gotten that number 1 overall pick, gotten a good quarterback that, was obviously the most highly touted quarterback coming out of college that given year, and they did something with it. They improved upon it. They went from, I believe last year they were 2-14 to get that number 1 pick, to improve to 6-10. That's a significant win. That's winning a quarter more games in the season. So it's a very good improvement. For Lovie Smith to get fired is a little bit, not suspect, but I think they want someone else in there to start a new regime with Jameis. I think Jameis has, not the makings to be a superstar, but definitely the makings to be a good NFL quarterback.
Yeah, and it's really important now in your first couple of seasons with a young, good quarterback to try to make some progress, because people saw how the Seahawks dealt with Russell Wilson when he was young and cheap, and they put a really good team around him because they didn't have to pay their competent to near elite quarterback a lot of money. And I really think the Colts missed their window with Andrew Luck. He was on a very team-friendly contract because that's how much better number 1 overall pick contracts are than they used to be, and they completely squandered all of the money they saved on Andrew Luck not being a $30 million a year player by signing these really random players who never contributed for them, signing a bunch of old, dead veterans. I don't think Andre Johnson's currently alive. If he is, he's hanging on for dear life.
He was on my fantasy roster, I can tell you that. That was a bad pick.
Was he on your fantasy roster?
That was a bad pick.
Oh, man, that guy was toast. Do you see any of these other jobs being appealing, or do you see any of these interviewing coaching candidates who, a lot of the names popping up, Adam Gase, Ben McAdoo, Steve Spagnuolo, Chip Kelly, Mike Shanahan.
Hugh Jackman's, or not Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackson.
He's going to sing a song.
Hugh Jackman's got it.
NFL on ice. Who are the candidates that you like, and do you have any specific matches between teams and players that you like?
The matches that I like Mike Shanahan coming back, but I like, as far as he goes, I think the only other attractive job is the New York Giants. Just because the New York Giants, it's kind of I don't want to say it's the Yankees of football, but it is kind of that America's team going for it. A lot of good history there. So if that job was available, I would say Mike Shanahan there. But other than that, the only job I can think of is Chip Kelly going back and coaching his college quarterback. That would be a good storyline.
Right. So the Tennessee Titans are interviewing interim coach Mike Mularkey. He's had at least a job or two as a head coach in the NFL. But they do have to give a serious look to guys like Shanahan, who probably wouldn't want to go there, or guys like Chip Kelly, who is willing to go anywhere because he reached out to the 49ers, and that's a horrific job. Yeah, the only job worse than that's the Browns.
Yeah, and that's just because I don't think there's a job worse in any sport than the Browns to be a coach on.
Yeah, I can't think of any. Maybe the Toronto Maple Leafs. I know they're horrific. The Buffalo Bills. Rex Ryan has started to turn them around, but they haven't made the playoffs in 15 seasons. But we could talk about the Browns because when I'm scanning their interviews, there are way more names. They're digging way deeper down to the middle and bottom of the barrel than other teams are. The Giants are just interviewing their coordinators for now. The Dolphins have Shanahan, who's potentially like a Hall of Fame coach. And then you look at the Browns list, and it's like Terrell Austin, Adam Gase. Okay, other teams have interviewed them. Doug Marrone, Jaguars offensive line coach. I know he's coached before, but he flamed out. The Patriots defensive coordinator, who's like a high upside guy, I guess. And no one is mentioning Panthers defensive coordinator Sean McDermott, Paul Gunther of the Bengals. Like, these guys aren't getting mentioned by other teams, but they have to be mentioned by the Browns because they have to cast such a wide net.
Yeah, the Browns. It's just can it get any lower? I mean, the Browns, I think the only thing only number that's higher than their amount of coaches is the amount of quarterbacks they've had in there since 2000.
That's always a fun game to play. I had a buddy, we used to do Vikings and Browns quarterbacks for the last 15, 20 years because the list is fun.
It's super.
Spurgeon Wynn is the one you try to win with.
I'm trying to think of the 49ers quarterbacks between Garcia and Alex Smith, and even that
Druckenmiller.
Even that gets dicey trying to get down there.
Yeah, no, there's some fun with Ken Dorsey. There's some fun ones in there, but the Browns especially. So I want to see Deuce Staley become coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, only because I want, for the first time in my life, someone I owned in fantasy to become a NFL head coach. I think that would be the first time that happened.
Yeah, that would be Yeah, a lot of stars would have to align for that one to happen, I feel like.
And then Chris Berman, before he someday passes away, I just want him to yell Deuce Staley one more time, because it was such a formative part of my youth. Okay, so the coaching carousel. I want to talk specifically about the Colts, because they retained Chuck Pagano and Ryan Grigson, and I have a pretty good feeling that in 2019 we're going to mark this moment in Colts history as the day they made a mistake. I don't think keeping Chuck Pagano was a mistake. I think he can be a competent to good coach there. I do not think Ryan Grigson knows how to put together a football team. And I don't want to. I want to hear, but I don't think I can get any arguments for why he should stay. I haven't seen any good free agent signings. They have not had good drafting other than taking Andrew Luck, which was the most obvious pick since Peyton Manning. So what's the defense of Ryan Grigson?
Yeah, I really don't see one. You look at, the wide receiving core they put together with the aforementioned Andre Johnson and Hayward Bay, who are both, serviceable at best. And Andre Johnson turned out to be, might have gotten 10 receptions on the year. And
he made Frank Gore look young.
He did. He did. And, even Frank Gore not turning around. Frank Gore saying it was the hardest year he's had in his entire career.
They traded a first-round draft pick for Trent Richardson, who's not in football right now. Yeah. And he's not in football because he passed through the Raiders.
Yeah, it's the Colts. It's hard to see a talent like Andrew Luck. Granted, the injuries can't control that, but to see a talent like Andrew Luck regress when he shouldn't be regressing. Not with the amount of talent he has. If there's a better team in place around him, you would still be talking about him in that elite, even maybe MVP company. And this Colts team should be going into the playoffs this weekend.
And it's a Colts thing where they get to the AFC Championship game despite not having a good roster because their quarterback wills them there. We saw it with Peyton Manning in most of his career, needing to will his team deep in the playoffs only to be let down by his defense, his kicker, his offensive line, or sometimes him. Peyton Manning has to take a few amounts of blame for that, but it just kind of seems like the Colts are always letting down their elite quarterback.
Yeah, and it was really just hard to watch Andrew Luck take these hits when you knew he was already playing hurt. And when they finally pulled the plug and got him out of there, it was almost a sigh of relief off my shoulders because, he's, and still in my eyes, as far as you're starting a franchise today, you want to draft a quarterback, Andrew Luck's still got to be top 3 on that list. So you would really like to see him take a step forward next year, and hopefully you thought a new coach could do that, but now that Pagano's still in there, you start to wonder if it's going to be more of the same or if the Colts are going to get anything different. Yeah,
we'll see. Like I said, they were just there in the AFC Championship game. They play in the worst division in football. Somebody on one of the sports shows today or yesterday tried to say that he's 20-4 in division games since he started, Chuck Pagano, and it's like, well, that's not good. That's the Jaguars, the Texans, and the Titans. Those teams are terrible, and all you need is competency to win that division, and they couldn't put that together this year. And so I root for them because I was such a big Peyton Manning fan and the Edgerrin James, Marvin Harrison team, and I always rooted for them against the Patriots because at least they didn't cheat. Marvin Harrison, in retrospect, not the greatest guy in the world. Do some Googling there. But I want to see the Colts succeed, and I want to see Andrew Luck get a fair shake. I guess that's what I mean.
And I want to see the Colts succeed, but I will say the Chuck Pagano, having him there, if the Colts do end up succeeding and he proves everyone wrong, that's going to be 10 times the story that it would be with any new coach coming in there and doing something great.
That's true. We got one more story, and then we're going to bring on Tori and Danny Zarchi to do our NFL picks for the playoffs. Megatron might retire.
I heard about this.
So his play has kind of dropped off the last season and a half or 2 full seasons. He hasn't had that dominant 1,500 yard, 10, 12 touchdown season. The Lions haven't been successful almost at all. They snuck into the playoffs that one year, but really he hasn't been reaping any of the rewards of his efforts for the Lions. Why should he pull an Andre Johnson? Why should he go to another team and maybe become a second option or become a guy who has to go over the middle all the time? What is his motivation? He's got the money. He's got the numbers. He's got, you can't force winning. Why should he stay in the league?
As a person who's played sports, you want to say for the love of the game. You want to say because you love to do it. But, when you start to see the guys that are 3-4 years older than you tearing ACLs and seriously questioning if they're going to walk again.
Steve Smith, falling apart on the Baltimore Ravens last year.
You start to, at least in my eyes, I respect it. Especially a guy like that who you don't want to say served his time. That makes it sound like a jail sentence.
Well, playing for the Detroit Lions is a jail sentence. I hope you know that. Barry Sanders. Yeah, exactly.
There you go. But, no, Calvin Johnson's done enough. You'd love to see him get more, and God, I wish he got more on the time he played, but if it really is the end, I guess thank you, Megatron. You've done a great job.
Well, and I actually have no issue with football players retiring early. You know, Chris Borland of the Niners retiring after one season, that comes out of nowhere, but I get it. You know, you got in, you got your paycheck, you fulfilled your dream. Now you want to preserve your brain. You know, Calvin Johnson's at a position where he's going to get hit a lot. Almost every time he catches the ball, he's going to get tackled. And, you know, you're catching 80 balls a season plus all the contact at the line. And, you know, long off seasons. There's no off season for athletes anymore. They train year round.
Or they get surgeries when they're not playing games.
Right. So why would you want to be constantly rehabbing, constantly having to get up for games, constantly having to do all of this? I don't mind athletes playing shorter careers. I think that's the benefit of more money coming into sports, is guys can get their paychecks, get solid, get square with the government, you know, after their initial splurge. You know, we all would do it. We all would spend way too much money our first couple seasons in the league or our first big contract.
Of course.
So make it right, get your second or third contract, and then peace out, you know?
Yeah, there's no problem in that, especially when you got to think these guys, they're people. After they take off the uniforms, you might forget about them, but they go on to live, hopefully, 30, 40 more years.
Well, and they want you to know that, too, because they put the second and the third and the senior on their jersey to let you know they have families. You know, Steve Smith Sr., he wants to let you know he was a dad, because they're obviously he's a Steve Smith Jr., unless he just has like a buddy he really...
He's just a senior.
Yeah.
He's just a senior.
Well, that was his senior season because now he's gone. Okay, it's time to talk NFL playoffs, and we're going to bring on Victoria Feeney, our producer, and Daniel Zarchi, my college buddy, my friend, my sometimes lover. No, that's not true, Danny, but he wishes. We're going to make some playoff picks. We're also going to do a little bit of analysis in between. We've only got 4 games this week. Danny, what's the game you're looking forward to?
Well, the 49ers not playing, let me say that first of all.
Boo-hoo, no one cares.
I think possibly either Steelers-Bengals or Seahawks-Vikings.
Okay, yeah, I think those are the 2 best games. I think definitely the worst game, Kansas City and Houston. I don't know how you get up to watch Alex Smith, quote unquote, eviscerate a defense with 4-foot passes. So I'm not really that interested in that game, but everything else is pretty legit. Washington, Green Bay. Yeah, this is a good slate of first-round games. Tori, anything jump out at you?
I was looking at Steelers-Bengals. I still don't know what I'm picking.
Yeah, that was a tough one for me. Actually, I think the first game, Kansas City-Houston, was the hardest for me to pick. Let's go ahead and start that because we're going to go in order. Chad, feel free to jump in and make picks as need be. So Saturday, Kansas City at Houston. Kansas City comes in at 11-5. They're the 5 seed. Houston's 9-7. They won the AFC South. Danny, go.
I'm taking Alex Smith minus 3.5. I think the Chiefs are legitimately good, and as long as they can protect Captain Checkdown from the pass rush, he should be okay. And they should be getting Justin Houston and Jeremy Maclin back, and I think they're just by far the better team.
You're not worried about J.J. Watt having his cast off? He looked like a monster last week.
I mean, he did, but I feel like if there's any quarterback that he's not going to be able to scare, it's going to be somebody who doesn't rely on throwing deep, who can excel at 5-yard dump-offs to the running back or to Travis Kelce or to Jeremy Maclin and then kind of let them do their thing. So if they can nullify the pass rush with the short screen passes and things like that, then if they get like a 7 or 10 point lead in this game, then it's over because Houston just is not going to be able to score.
Chad?
Yeah, with that game, it's pretty much the same thing. Alex Smith gets the ball out so quick that it's not really, I mean, you think J.J. Watt in that front sevens, that is the Houston Texans. And if they can, essentially take that out of the game, game's over. I'm picking Kansas City. I don't think this one's going to be close.
Okay, Tori.
I'm taking Kansas City.
Oh, you're going against Hard Knocks.
Even though both teams have really, surprisingly good defenses, one turnover can make or break the game, and I just can't see.
The Chiefs don't turn the ball over.
The Chiefs don't turn the ball over, and Hoyer is missing his blindside protection, so.
Okay. Oh, yeah, Dwayne Brown, is he out? He's going to be out?
He's going to be out. He's out at least for this game if the Texans, by some Hail Mary, make it through.
Wow, you are confident in your Chiefs pick.
The Chiefs are on a really good run right now.
Okay, I'm going to take them as well. The Chiefs already conquered a healthy Texans team in Houston to open the season. 4 of the Chiefs' 5 losses this year are to teams currently in the playoff field. They went through a brutal stretch early in the season. They got through that. They took their lumps. but then they got through the rest of the season unscathed. You know, they're on a 10-game winning streak. I think the Chiefs cover this one. I think it's closer than you guys are indicating because I do think the Texans are competent. 7th in opponents' points per game in defense by the metric defensive DVOA. They're 8th, so they have a pretty solid defense, and the Chiefs don't exactly light it up. So we'll see, but I'm going to take the Chiefs minus 3.5. All right, our next game, the AFC, the Saturday evening game, because it's evening, because it's not a night game, because we're on the West Coast out here. Pittsburgh against Cincinnati. Tory.
I still have no idea.
I know.
Okay, let me run through everything. The Bengals have the second fewest points allowed per game, and the Steelers are probably going to be down D'Angelo Williams.
Right.
Big Ben is Big Ben, but he's throwing a lot of interceptions this year, 16. Antonio Brown is nearly impossible to defend. A.J. McCarron will be seeing his 4th start overall in his first playoff start.
So you got notes. You got to have a pick.
Marvin Lewis is winless.
Big squadouche.
Winless with 4 straight one-and-done playoff trips.
Big squadouche.
So I really want to take the Steelers. But
Okay.
the Bengals have been really good.
Do your thing.
Let's make a pick.
We'll come back to you. Chad.
Steelers. No, if it was Andy Dalton, it's a contest, but A.J. McCarron.
Do you think there's any chance they send Andy Dalton out there anyway, or put him in mid-game in like a last-ditch effort? Because how bad can you injure your thumb? You know?
There's talk about it.
Yeah.
Is it his throwing thumb or his non-throwing?
I think it's the non-throwing.
Non-throwing?
thumb. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Andy Dalton, that comes to, is he the QB of the future? You can't. I don't know. There's a lot
contract says
a lot
he is.
that goes into that. But yeah, in this weekend, I'm taking Steelers. Andy Dalton or not, I would still pick Big Ben.
I'm going to take Pittsburgh as well. They force a lot of turnovers, and that's exactly what you want to see when you're facing a guy who hasn't thrown a lot of NFL passes in A.J. McCarron. Also, I think Martavis Bryant getting healthy was really important for Big Ben's progressions because it's really hard to take Antonio Brown away, but you can double cover him, and that leaves a streaking, very, very fast Martavis Bryant out there in the secondary. So Cincinnati's going to face probably their biggest test with a healthy Martavis Bryant. Pittsburgh's 3rd in the league in offense, 4th in points per game. I'm taking Pittsburgh minus 3. Danny.
I'm going with the Bengals. Ooh. I think the Steelers minus D'Angelo Williams or the Bengals minus Andy Dalton. Maybe Dalton being out is going to break the one-and-done curse. I mean, Dalton is a different quarterback this year. I think he's better than he has been previous years. But even so, the Bengals just have way better of a supporting cast. I mean, aside from Brown and Bryant, there really isn't much there to help Big Ben. The Bengals have a way better defense, and I think even without Dalton, they're a better team. So I'm happy to take the points.
Yeah, a lot of Dalton's progress this year is because the offensive line has been so incredibly dominant that he's had a lot more time. But how much is that going to help A.J. McCarron? What can he do with that time? I guess that's the question we have to ask ourselves.
He can pass to A.J. Green, to Tyler Eifert.
Can he, though? That's the question. We haven't really seen it. He didn't even look good against the 49ers. So,
I mean, every game since A.J. McCarron took over, A.J. Green has done something spectacular. So, I think with me throwing to A.J. Green would still do pretty well.
Okay, well, we'll do that. Danny to Green. Green Bay Packers, we're on to the Sunday game, Sunday morning. The Sunday morning game, I believe, is Minnesota-Seattle. So we'll start with that one. Minnesota 11-5. They won the NFC North in Week 17. Seattle finishes 10-6 with that big win over the Arizona Cardinals, but they're the 6th seed, so they're on the road in Minnie. Chad.
I don't think anybody's playing better than Seattle right now, and I don't think it's really a contest.
Russell Wilson, man.
You gotta go with Seattle. I mean, I want to pick finally someone not named Packers wins the NFC North, but you can't deny it. Russell Wilson looks so good, and with them even possibly getting Marshawn Lynch back, that's just scary.
Yeah, I really think that Marshawn and his connection with Doug Baldwin right now is insane. That's taking a lot of pressure off the defense and a lot of pressure off the rest of the team. They put Thomas Rawls in. He was great. He's out. Marshawn will come back. He'll probably be great. They just have a lot of mojo going right now. They did lose to St. Louis 2 weeks ago, which is disconcerting. I think they put up 10 points in that game. But I'm still going to take Seattle. Minnesota hasn't played anybody. They're 2-4 against playoff teams this year, and they're one of the teams that beat Kansas City when Kansas City was early in the year, like we said, not playing really well. So I don't really like what Minnesota's got going for them. They're kind of a mediocre team by advanced metrics. They're 16th in offensive DVOA and 14th in defensive, so they don't really do anything particularly well except run the ball. So we're going to see if Seattle can figure that out, and I think they will. I think this one's going to be the blowout of the weekend. Tori.
By beating the Packers last week, the Vikings sealed their own grave.
You think so?
Yeah, because they have to go up against the Seahawks. Russell Wilson is on fire. 24 touchdown passes against 1 interception in the last 7 games.
That's pretty spectacular. He's having one of the best stretches we've ever seen any quarterback play, and he has Super Bowl experience. He's been there 2 years, won one of them. I don't know what to say. They're on fire, and I don't want to be that person that picks the on-fire team, like picking Pittsburgh and picking Seattle. One of those teams is going to falter, but it's so hard to figure out which one that you just take them both. Danny?
This is fun. I'm taking the Vikings.
You're always fun. You're Mr. Contrarian.
Well, the Vikings are legitimately good, and they don't get any respect. And you can see that in this line. I mean, when I looked at it, it was 5.5. Is that what we're going with?
Yeah.
It's Vikings +6 at this point.
No, I just pulled it up. It's at 5.5. I pulled it up 10 minutes ago.
And as scary as the Seahawks have been sometimes, they're a different, much less scary animal when they're on the road. The Vikings are legitimately good, and the times the Seahawks have struggled have been against teams with really good defenses, and the Vikings do have a really good defense. So
see, that's where I disagree with you. I don't think the Vikings are really good. Play the Bears twice. You play the Lions twice. You don't play a lot of playoff teams. They didn't beat a lot of playoff teams. They beat Kansas City and Green Bay. That was it. They're 0-4 against other playoff teams. So I'm not really sold on them at all.
I'm not sold on the Seahawks.
Okay, well, we will see, Daniel. That's why we make these picks. Our last game, Green Bay Packers. They come in as the 5 seed after a 10-6 season. The Washington Jabronis, 9-7. They were the cream of the NFC East, which is like being cream that's been left in the fridge for 3 weeks. When the fridge has been off because you didn't pay your bill. I don't know what to do in this game. That's Green Bay +1 right now. I guess you take Aaron Rodgers and the points. Green Bay's played everybody this season. They're 3-5 against playoff teams, but they've been in all of those games almost. They played most of those games tough. Washington played a cream puff schedule. Go back and look at Washington's schedule. It is terrible. Their team looks awful on paper outside of Kirk Cousins' completion percentage. I think the Packers win this one by 14. I think that's a blowout. Tori.
This is not the 2010 Packers.
I know that, but this is the Washington Jabronis. This is the 20-anything Jabronis.
Since their bye week in Week 8, Kirk Cousins has thrown 20 touchdowns and only 3 interceptions.
Okay, I said his numbers are gaudy. That's fine. That doesn't make this a good team.
They have an overlooked pass rush. Their defense is pretty decent. I think the Jabs belong in the playoffs and the Packers don't. They've been trailing off.
You think the Jabs belong in the playoffs and the Packers don't? The Packers won more games. In a tougher division. They had to play Minnesota twice. The Washington had to play Philly, Dallas without Tony Romo, and your Giants, who you know are fantastic.
Oh, the Giants are amazing right now.
Okay,
oh,
Chad.
This is the hardest game, and this is the game I'm definitely most intrigued to watch, just because I have no idea what's going on. But
don't forget to say Jabronis.
Yeah, don't worry, Jabronis. But with Aaron Rodgers, I went with him last week, and it served me so well. I'm just gonna have to go with him again this week.
I'd say some sarcasm.
Yeah, just a little bit. No, but Aaron Jabronis. I mean, you got Kirk Cousins, and that's good, but you don't know what he's gonna do in the playoffs. You know, Aaron Rodgers is, he's gonna be Aaron Rodgers, and you don't know if he's gonna be the Aaron Rodgers of the past, but you hope that with the playoffs coming, and hopefully it gets something started. Hopefully they get somebody back. That team's very tattered.
It's all
as well.
about class, and he has class. Danny, class it up.
See, what the things Chad is saying right now are the things that I said last week, and it didn't happen. So I'm taking the Jabs -1. I figured Rodgers would get it together. I've been saying that every week. I don't think they're going to get it together. I think the Jabronis are a better team, and they're at home, and Jabs -1.
Okay, well, Tori, where do we stand? What are the rankings right now, percentage-wise? And because we're gonna do these games double time, we're gonna get 2 points for a win or 2 points for a loss, or -2 points, I guess, for a loss. You're ahead in percentage. We're ahead in number of wins because you took a week off. What do we need to do to overcome your lead in the next couple of weeks?
I need to tank, and you guys need to stop sucking.
Do we really have to fly that high, or are we close enough? Are we in range?
I'm at 48%. Okay. You're at 42%, and Danny is at 43%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think if Danny sweeps the weekend and you maybe go 2-2, does that get him a little closer?
It might.
Okay. Because we have 11 more games to pick this season. That's 22 points. I'm going to add a couple more for the Super Bowl. So I think there's 24 more pick points available. So I think we can still catch Tori. There's no way I'm letting her win our work fantasy league and the pick pool for the radio show in the same year, her first year following the NFL.
There would be so much gloating.
There already is. I can see it in your face.
It was my first time playing fantasy.
I know, and you finally got
won?
that. Yeah.
I won.
Yeah,
Good
she
for
won.
you.
She kicked our butts.
Good for you.
Did you beat me in the playoffs, I think?
I beat you in the playoffs.
Beat me in the playoffs. I'm never in the playoffs, so I was just happy to
You
be
made
there.
it to the playoffs in both your teams and lost in the first week.
Yeah, but
I went 6-7 and won the championship.
that's a flawed league.
No, it's not.
No, you can't make the playoffs at 6-7. No, you're done.
You're right. I made it at 5-7. It's all right though. It got split up into 2 divisions, and I was in second place. It wasn't my fault.
That is an absolute failure. The commissioner of your league needs to take a long look.
4th place in the other division was like 8-5. Anyways.
Oh my goodness! It sounds like a league Zarchi was in. Zarchi, you've been in some 8-man leagues, haven't you?
I've never been in an 8-man league,
Okay.
no, but I did win the championship in my 12-man dynasty league this year.
Yeah, but you have
Oh.
17 leagues, Danny.
I think 3 this year.
3, okay.
He's bound to win one of them if he's in enough of them.
Yeah, that's the point, I guess. All right, we're going to let producer Tori go, but we're going to keep Danny on the line because Chad and I and he are going to talk about some Hall of Fame baseball. Thank you again to Tori for keeping all those numbers and making picks that you don't want to make. The Hall of Fame ballot is out. Mike Piazza in, Ken Griffey Jr. in. Griffey Jr. 99.7% of the vote. 3 morons didn't vote for Ken Griffey Jr. because they don't believe there should be a first ballot Hall of Famer or a unanimous first ballot Hall of Famer. This is moronic.
Yeah, they should strip their ballots. Honestly,
Well, so I have a point I'd like to make on this.
Please.
So first, let's just establish that Hall of Fame voting and the BBWAA in many ways is a moronic organization.
It's
and
getting better.
They do it stupidly. It is getting slightly better, but one of the things that they have in Hall of Fame voting is this 10-vote limit, and it's completely arbitrary. But every year, no matter who's on the ballot, how many legitimate candidates there are, all of these factors, nobody can vote for more than 10 people. So what that means is this year and every year when there are people who, when there are 11 qualified candidates or something like that, they have to choose 10. That doesn't make any sense, and it leads to things like this. Because let's say there's someone out there who legitimately thinks that Jim Edmonds might be a Hall of Famer, or Kenny Lofton might be a Hall of Famer, or something along these lines. Meanwhile, they know that Ken Griffey Jr. is a 100% lock to make it into the Hall of Fame. They could use that vote to put it toward Edmonds and hope that he stays on the ballot until after these sure things are off and the debate can continue.
That could be the reason, Danny, but what I think is happening is that there are people out there who think that there should never be a class above the class. There should never be this unanimous Cooperstown inductee who has all this extra clout because Babe Ruth didn't get 100% of the vote. Lou Gehrig didn't get 100% of the vote.
I agree, and I mean, isn't that the case in basketball too? Like the one year that some idiot voted for Melo instead of LeBron just to prove a point. I don't know, but
yeah, what was the
just
point?
saying.
Did he prove it? Because I don't think so, because we don't know the point.
Right, exactly. No, and we don't know who these 3 people are, but I'm just saying that I think it's more of an indictment of the whole process in general that causes this to happen. One of which is that they give these writers and these voters this ridiculously broad discretion to interpret the character clause, to decide what it means to be worthy of the Hall of Fame, etc. And yet they don't trust them with more than 10 votes. I mean, what are they worried about? Is someone just going to mark every box and then drop the mic and walk away? I mean, how can you trust them to interpret the character clause, to interpret everything about the most important thing in professional baseball, the Hall of Fame, and yet they impose these arbitrary limits? It just doesn't make sense, and it leads to wonkiness like this.
Well, fortunately, you're wrong. It's not the most important thing in Major League Baseball. The World Series and the playoff run is probably the most important thing in baseball. I know a lot of people...
The most important individual accolade.
I guess, yeah, I suppose. You can go MVP or Cy Young. We can stick with that as a better measure because those have been at least a little bit more accurate as far as what fans actually think and what media members should be doing. I want to take a minute and celebrate both Ken Griffey Jr. and Mike Piazza because these are players I watched almost from the beginning of their careers. Griffey came up in 89. I was born in 86, so I didn't really get to see his early years. But by the time he was slugging 50 home runs a year, I was in awe of this man. He was left-handed like me. He wore his hat backwards. He was always smiling. I still wear a backwards baseball hat because of Ken Griffey Jr. That's the style of my life I want to live. And he always seemed so happy, so loose, and he made such spectacular plays at the plate. I know you have a personal Ken Griffey Jr. story. Would you like to tell it?
I would.
Go for it.
When I was about 9 in 3rd grade, my dad, who
BZ show,
a cinematographer, was filming a Japanese Nike commercial with Ken Griffey Jr. and a Japanese ball player in the MTV.
More intensity.
And I took the day off of 3rd grade, and I went and met Griffey. And he was just the absolute nicest guy. He, as my dad tells it, filming a commercial is the most boring thing you can possibly do. And he'd just been told to, stand and wait and do these, really boring things. And then all of a sudden the kids showed up, and I think he had young kids, and he just thought, oh, this is, finally something fun to do. And so he just played with me and picked me up and spun me around, which is a funny thing to think about if you
met you
now.
Biggest man I know.
Signed, I think, 3 baseballs for me, and was just, the nicest guy. And ever since then, he's been my absolute favorite player, even though I've never rooted for a team he's on. He's just,
and
he's a man.
Who does your girlfriend root for?
Well, she roots for the Mariners, and she's very, very happy about this, too.
Chad, you have any memories specifically of Griffey or Piazza that you want to share?
Well, see, with Griffey, for me, it was kind of a weird memory in that I didn't really know who this guy was growing up, because I was born in 94, so I was, a little bit after all this. Bonds was the guy I remember from my childhood, but with Griffey, it was the movie Little Big League. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Oh, I've seen the movie 100 times.
That's one of my favorite movies, and him robbing the home run in the corner, that's my memory of Ken Griffey Jr. And then, of course, I see that, and, I got to look him up now and look up all the highlights, and then you say, wow.
What a sweet swing.
I was about to say, in my opinion, the prettiest swing in baseball history.
It just looped through the zone and just
so pretty.
The ball just seemed to, want to go out of the park.
And it was just so effortless.
Yeah, it was like the trajectory was just pre-planned, and the ball was just following orders and just yay as it was gone. And I got to watch a lot of Piazza because my family back east are all Mets fans, and I was out there hanging out with them every summer when I was off from school. So I got to see a lot of Mike Piazza play. And, in New York sports town, to have a guy who isn't Derek Jeter, he didn't have the look or the aura or anything, but he had that workmanlike attitude. He was bad behind the plate, but they appreciated that he tried. And, one of the best offensive catchers of all time, and I'm glad he's in. I was sad he had to wait because he always deserved it. I know there's a little bit of taint swirling around him from the steroid era, but I haven't seen anything proven, and even if I had, I still want Barry Bonds and Jeff Bagwell and Mark McGwire in the Hall of Fame, so we can get to that next. Danny, any thoughts on Piazza before we move off to the snubs?
Oh, just, as you said, everything. He was a great player. He deserves to be there. And, for us Giants fans, fun fact, that early indications seem he's going to go into the Hall with a Mets cap rather than Dodgers.
I think that's right. He made the World Series with them. That was one of the defining moments of his career. He hit all his big home runs with them, even though he did come up with the Dodgers. I thought it would be funny if he donned a Marlins cap because he never officially played for them, but he got traded to them and then traded to the Mets from them. I thought that would be funny if he came out and said Marlins cap, even if he later corrected it. I thought it would have caused a nice little stir.
My favorite thing, though, is that there's a push online to get Griffey to go into the Hall with a backwards cap.
Yes, I will sign that petition. I will give money to a GoFundMe or anything I need to do. Call Ken Griffey Sr. if he's still alive and get him to use his clout. So, Chad, do you see any snubs? I'm looking at numbers here. The top 4 guys who missed out, Jeff Bagwell at 71%. They need 75 to get in. Tim Raines, Trevor Hoffman, Kurt Schilling. Any of those guys appeal to you as Hall of Famers?
I mean, Trevor Hoffman was, he held the record for a while, not that long, but quite a while for saves. You think maybe him, but then, those all seem like people that are in my head at least right on the cusp, especially Jeff Bagwell.
Put him in, man.
Thinking about Jeff Bagwell, you really think like, well, yeah, he was so great for so long, but he was never that. Oh, I'm winning the MVPs, I'm winning Silver Slug. He was never necessarily that guy. He was always just the 4-hitter on his team and always the best hitter on his team.
Yeah, but based on a lot of the analysis that people have done on Bagwell, Jay Jaffe has something called Jaws, which is a...
Jay Jaffe writes for Sports Illustrated. Very, very good baseball writer.
He has a thing called Jaws, which is his metric to determine whether somebody should be in the Hall, and he gives Bagwell a really, really good score on that. And wins above replacement, all these things definitely put Bagwell, just from an unbiased view of his stats, as firmly in the Hall. So, it's interesting, though, to look at, things like that how much black ink, how much gray ink, as they say, for did he lead the league in things? Was he just consistently really good but never the best? If he was consistently really good but did it for 18 years, is that worthwhile?
The Andre Dawson case.
Yeah, so it's cases like that are going to be really interesting. But it really does look like Bagwell and probably Tim Raines as well are going to make it next year, particularly with, if somebody wanted to vote Griffey or Piazza, and they I'm sure could have felt safe to leave Bagwell and Raines off the ballot because it's not like they're going to get knocked off below 5%. So maybe with those extra votes, they'll get it.
Well, then you get into the steroid guys because they're next. They're all hovering around, at least Clemens and Bonds are around 44, 45%. McGuire's down to 12. A lot of his raw numbers have really betrayed him.
Well, McGuire's off the ballot. This was his 10th year.
Yeah, this was it. I know. And Sosa's close. He's at 7%. But Clemens and Bonds still have a shot. And I think, I didn't look at last year's ballot, but have they trended up? I don't think Bonds was this high last season. I don't think Clemens was either. So if they continue to trend up for the next couple of seasons, they can definitely make it. And the way they've been thinning out people who don't cover baseball, these 440 voters, all have covered baseball in the last 10 years. That was not the case before.
Well, that's the problem, though, is that, they did this purge where they removed a whole bunch of people from the voting, but it was one big push, and that's what's responsible for a lot of the increase in Clemens and Bonds, because if you look at the raw votes, it actually has gone down.
Right, but the percentages have gone up.
Right, so the percentages have gone up, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they've convinced a lot of new people.
Out with the high and mighty, in with the neat and tidy, right? Am I right?
Well, just for example, Clemens went from 206 votes to 199, and Bonds went from 202 to 195. Now, obviously those are bigger percentages because a whole bunch of people left, but...
Yeah, how many people do they have to clear out before that happens?
Yeah, and there isn't going to be as big a purge before those guys are off the ballot.
I see your point. That's why you're a lawyer. Okay, question to Chad. Clemens, Bonds, McGuire?
Yeah, they deserve to be in there. When you look at it on its most basic level, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is, all there is, but the most hits, the most Cy Youngs, and the most home runs all aren't in the Hall of Fame.
Yep, that's a good point.
When you put it like that, and you say, well, obviously Pete Rose, different case, different.
Well, but
different
what do you want? What's your criteria?
But,
your criteria might be off then.
Yeah, but it comes to a point where it's ridiculous. First, I've personally never, kind of shooting myself in the foot here. I've never really liked that writers are the ones that vote on this. I don't see a better way to do it, so I'm not going to sit here and try and say they have to change it. But I'm glad that they're starting to change it. Hopefully, it's neglecting an era of baseball and neglecting that era's stars. Because you can't say that the steroid era didn't happen, so neglecting the stars doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
All right, Danny, you've got 30 seconds on Alex Gordon's 4-year, $72 million deal to re-sign with the Royals.
Good for them. I'm glad he's not on the Giants.
You really?
It's brutal.
Well, he would have been a great addition. Most of his value comes from his defense. But that would have been really good for the Giants. And I'm sad that he's not on the Giants. But for that contract, who knows? And there's still a bunch of big outfielders.
And we don't want big outfielders. We want in-shape outfielders.
Yeah, all the signs kind of point to the fact that it might be Dexter Fowler. He's kind of the cheaper option of the free agents out there. But, Upton or Cespedes would be a very happy surprise, but I'm not really expecting either of those after they spent big on the pitching rotation this year.
Okay, cool, Danny. Thank you for your baseball and football analysis. We can follow you on Twitter at GiantsPod. You and I are also going to be doing some podcasts as baseball season gets a little closer. It's GiantsPod or Two Guys, a Glove, and a Coke Bottle. Either name. Search our names in iTunes. You can find us there. Please subscribe. You'll be hearing from us soon. Thank you very much, Danny.
Thank you.
All right, now we got to bring back producer Tori because she's got some Tori topics for Chad and I to discuss. Hopefully there's a lot about Little Big League because Chad and I could just rattle on. I can do that. The montage scene with Runaround Sue.
Yeah.
When they're starting to win games.
Mm-hmm. Perfect
song. It's so well shot. And the movie has a lot going for it. They have real baseball players. Kevin Elster is in the movie. Luke Danes from Gilmore Girls, Scott Patterson is Mike McGreevy, the angry pitcher who becomes a nice guy by the end of the movie because of course he does. Such a good movie.
And then at the end you have the big unit coming in. That was just great.
Randy Johnson comes in to pitch in relief. Ken Griffey Jr. robs the home run. Spoiler alert for a 20-year-old movie.
Yep.
But just any movie with a little kid in baseball, I think it's such a better movie than Rookie of the Year, which is much more like child schlock fanfare.
This had good baseball. The scene when his name's Billy, right? The scene
Billy.
When Billy when he proves himself and has to, who would you put in this situation?
Far in his palm ball.
And then he just shuts the umpire or the manager down. It was so
the pitching
sweet.
coach. Hey, he's talking to Mac, the pitching coach. I can like the replacements. I can do this movie from memory. Tori, bring us on with some topics.
Cameraman catches a dude putting a Warriors jersey on over his Lakers jersey mid-game.
I saw this live. I mean, why not?
You buy both jerseys, right? Got to get both of them used.
Bandwagoning ever.
You paid for both of them. You're a Lakers fan in the first half, a Warriors fan in the second half. I can live with that. I mean, it's all California, right? Lakers fans out there getting ridiculously mad and scrubbing through the rest of this episode. Tori?
All right. On a similar note, Scout from Tuesday said, instead of using the D-League to get him back in shape, the Warriors just let Harrison Barnes do it against the Lakers.
Wow.
Ouch.
It's rough.
You're really not paying any service to Lakers fans right now.
Yeah.
I watched them yesterday in that Warriors game, and boy, did they not have a lot of talent.
They're a rough team to watch. They're a rough team to watch defensively.
I had a tweet, something like, I was looking at the plus minus. Jordan Clarkson was their best player yesterday, and he was minus 34. Nick Young and Lou Williams are combined 0 for 13. Roy Hibbert's 1 for 7. Roy Hibbert's shooting jump shots. He's shooting 15-foot jump shots. He shot at least 4 or 5 of them, and goodness, he made one of them, but that only inspired him to shoot more of them. And it's like, who's coaching this team? And the answer is the second worst coach in the NBA currently. I talked to my NBA buddy, and he says Sam Mitchell is the worst coach, the guy coaching Minnesota right now, but very close is Byron Scott, who very much said earlier this season that three-pointers don't matter.
Yeah,
and then got whooped by the Warriors.
And then Kobe, with the whole Kobe there, it's who Mitch Kupchak said today. He said, this is about not as much playing young players as letting Kobe have his last hurrah. You say, well, if that's what this season's about.
Well, then why is the mascot not coaching the team? Why do you even have Byron Scott? What does the next generation of the Lakers look like? What's the next incarnation? It doesn't look like it's going to be D'Angelo Russell's team. He doesn't look like a world beater. They might have a top 3 pick this year, I guess.
Isn't it top 3 protected?
It's top 3 protected. They have to lose all of these games. So I guess that's what Kupchak's getting at. Tori.
After missing an extra point in the second quarter of Sunday's game against the Jets, Carpenter slammed his helmet to the ground. The helmet bounced back up and hit him straight in the face.
This is Dan Carpenter, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay. That's hilarious. I mean, I love kicker celebrations. I love kicker fail. I like any time a kicker is holding the ball in his hands and he doesn't expect to be.
Yeah.
That's probably the best moment in
the
football.
Deer in headlights look?
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
And they start rolling out to the right, and they roll out so slowly. Like, you see Peyton Manning roll out once every 50, 60 plays, and it looks awful. But it looks even worse when a kicker does it. I think Dan Carpenter needs to get a call from Mason Crosby, who in that Minnesota Green Bay game karate chopped that ball from Cordero Patterson. Crosby needs to give him a call and say, hey, man, I'm trying to make us look good out here. You're making us look bad. You need to go watch some Martin Gramatica tape and Bill Gramatica tape and learn how not to hurt yourself while celebrating.
Or learn how to look good doing it at least, right?
Yeah.
That was just ugly. First off, God, you can't be getting upset if you're a kicker, man. I mean, it's all a mental game. You're going to be throwing your helmet and hitting yourself on the head with the thing that guards your head. I mean, God, it's got to just do a whole bunch to your psyche.
I want him to go back to the single crossbar, or the single face mask bar. I really loved those. I know the punters are under a lot of duress on some of those plays, so they can have full face masks. But I really want the place kickers to have just the single bar, and then they do that move where the old kicker move in the 80s and 90s was when the guy's running it back, you just tumble at him. Now the guys are a little bigger. They go for tackles, but they used to just roll on the ground and hope that they would catch a leg as the most athletic guy on the other team returning the kick just jumps over him. Or, Antonio Brown face smashes him with his foot. I love kickers.
Kickers are it's an oddity.
I want to get rid of kicking in the NFL. I think it should go, but I wouldn't want to get rid of kickers.
It's just like a goalie in any sport. It's not an athlete who is an athlete in a different way playing the same sport.
Yeah,
it's just so awesome.
That's why they call it special teams. You know, it's pretty special.
Well, those kickers, they're wiry.
They're wiry. There, see more replacements references. We could do this every
All
week.
right. So the Jabs plan to give out rally towels at Sunday's playoff game that say, "You like that?
You like that?" We do like that, Jabs. We don't like your franchise. We don't like your name. I don't like your owner. I kind of like your quarterback because he went to Michigan State, and I like his attitude after that game against the Bucs.
He was fired up.
I mean, he helped get Lovie Smith fired.
Goodness
He's
gracious.
Fired up all right. And, he's gone on quite a run since then, and obviously they should try to make money on this. But, the towel thing should belong to Pittsburgh. I've gotten the orange rally towel at Giants games, so I've gone to playoff games, and it's cool. It's fun, but that's Pittsburgh's thing.
I don't think you can. I mean, then does one person have the little thunder sticks?
No one should have the thunder sticks.
No one. That's just that's an unmentionable.
Were you watching in 2002? I guess you were 8 years old. 2002.
Which game?
The Angels-Giants World Series.
Yeah, of course.
They're